Go ahead. And let's start the show.
It looks like it is time for a coffee break.
And we are here. And Joe, I can hear everything you are saying. Just thought I'd let you know. So here we are. It is Halloween. Hello on this grand Halloween day. Let me turn this down just a wee bit. Is that loud? Is that loud? No, that's about the same volume. Okay, good. So here we are on Halloween. We almost didn't do a show today because I was up till midnight last night filming the new Honda Civic Type R. And I had to wake up at 5 a.m. this morning to finish filming the Honda Civic Type R. So it has been a really long night for me. But here I am, just for you, for that one viewer who might actually be watching. Today we are going to do a holiday-themed video. And that video is a breakdown of a video that I did for a client just recently. But before we get into that, there's something that I am dying to know. Joe?
Yeah.
What are you going as for Halloween?
I am going as, I have a Chewbacca onesie that I was going to put on and be Chewbacca.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that sounds good. Do you have any friends going as Princess Leia with you or anything like that?
No, I don't. So I'm just I'm riding solo as Chewbacca. As I'm just riding solo.
Okay. Well, I am this year going as Dracula. My kids, my daughter specifically, is going as a little vampire herself, and my son is going as a bat. So, what does that have to do with the video we're looking at today? Well, I'm going to take you a step-by-step through a video that we shot for a client. This is a Halloween-themed video. Now, when you're doing a Halloween video, you kind of have to go one of two ways. You can either go actually scary and spooky, or you can go kind of campy. We had a very fast turnaround on this video. We shot the entire thing in 24 hours, actually similar to the shoot that I just did with the Honda Civic, although this one did not involve vampires. So we're going to go ahead and cut over, and I'm going to show you what the finished video looks like, and then I'm going to take you step by step each shot and tell you basically how I shot each thing. Now, not all of it's fascinating, but for those of you who do this kind of stuff, maybe, I do something differently than you do, and you'll learn something different. So let's go ahead and cut over to this computer, and we'll go ahead and get this started. Yes, it's AutoNation.
This is the story of a vampire who stayed out too late on one Halloween.
Yeah, those are my kids.
Cutting it a little close to sunrise, aren't you?
Yeah. Can I just point out that, yes, I did don makeup for this because time, schedule, hiring an actor in 24 hours on the budget we had, it just wasn't going to happen. So, I mean, you know what? I'm going to take one for the team. Okay, we'll go back to the video now.
Luckily, this vampire parked a 2017 Toyota 86 just a block away.
Who is that? I don't know, but he has a nice car.
I'd like to thank YouTube for picking that moment to buffer. We could have played off our network. Oh, really? It's going to start over. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump it forward.
This is the story of a vampire who stayed out too late on one
Here we go. I think this is where we were.
Who is that? I don't know, but he has a nice car.
With a 205 horsepower boxer engine and a 6-speed manual transmission, the vampire hoped it would be enough to get him home with haste to escape the sun. Vampires don't like the sun, you know. As he sped through the night, his chances to escape the sun were looking good. When finally he spotted the castle, which meant at last he was safe in his hood. From the families at AutoNation to yours, have a happy and safe Halloween.
Okay, so that video just hit this, I think they made it live last night or something like that. It's on the AutoNation YouTube channel. Now I'm going to take you step by step through the video, tell you what cameras I used, what angles we used, when we shot it, and what sequence, and just kind of relive it all over again. Clearly that's a logo with a little bit of a smoke overlay effect.
This is the story of a vampire who stayed out too late on...
You can probably tell that that's my voice. I do most of the voiceovers for AutoNation social media videos. But those are actually my kids. Those are actually the simple aspects of their costumes, of what they're planning on wearing for Halloween tonight. But we didn't put makeup on because, honestly, we had to fit this shoot in between homework, piano, and bedtime. And I think there was a dinner in there somewhere as well, too. But we didn't have a heck of a lot of time. It was working with kids. They're my kids. They're great. They do an amazing job, honestly. I would have hired them if they weren't my kids, probably. But the fact is that they're kids. Getting their focus sometimes, especially my younger one, can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. But they did a great job, I think, considering that they were really thrown into this. Let's go on. My son also, I'd like to point out, actually my son and daughter have appeared in other videos for other stuff that I've done as well, too. This is their first talking roles, though. So that was a big deal for them. And we'll move on.
One Hallows Eve.
It's just a stylistic choice of kind of going with a desaturated look. One thing that is interesting for me is that this was a quick video turnaround. It was also the very first thing that I ever edited in DaVinci Resolve end to end, where I did everything in Resolve because I wanted to kind of push myself on it and see how it did. I still need to work on some stuff, but the end result I think was fine. So here we have the desaturated look, and then I also overlaid a little bit of fog. Now, we actually had a fog machine for this shoot, but the fog machine decided not to work at all. After monkeying with it for 30, 40 minutes, I basically decided it was not going to function, and we needed to go on with the shoot because, like I said, the kids were available between some very specific hours. Would have loved to have had a smoke machine for this, but so instead, we were already going a little campy, so I went ahead and just overlaid a little smoke. That kind of worked for the effect. Now, that's just basically adding another layer and then using an additive combine on it, and it just kind of creates a nice kind of spooky, campy kind of look.
Cutting it a little close to sunrise, aren't you?
I am not going to get an Oscar for this portrayal. And you will note I'm looking at a watch that I'm not actually wearing. What, Joe?
It's good timing of where you paused it, and working with you, I've just seen that face multiple times. So.
Yeah. That's you forgot the what?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Luckily, this vampire puck.
I took this walk directly from the Department of Silly Walks. They checked it out for me. It was on loan for just the one evening. Oh, if I should also add, when you film in your own neighborhood, people start watching. There was actually a neighbor across the street with their kids watching this from their balcony. So, which... it's fine. I don't mind an audience, but it is a little intimidating when it's people that you actually know and see every day. I'd much rather perform for strangers on the internet, to be honest. Okay, moving on.
2017 Toyota.
Oh, actually, I should mention something about what we were shooting that with. All of the scenes outside, we just basically used a pair of LED panels and that were running on battery packs, so they were super easy to just kind of move around. And then all of the video was shot with the Sony a7S Mark II. The a7S is a brilliant camera in certain uses. Not so great for motion sport, like for high-speed action sports, because it does have a significant amount of rolling shutter to deal with. It's also in run and gun. It's a little hard because I don't get like all my scopes and stuff. But I find it for these kind of videos where you need to be tight, compact, small, and also not intimidating. You know, the kids can be intimidated by very large cameras. It kind of ups the performance expectation, not just for kids, but just for anybody. So rolling with this little guy just makes it a lot easier. And I think I was shooting most of that, the kids walking, with the 50 millimeter 1.4 Sony Zeiss E-mount lens, and probably set at like 1.4 or whatever because it was so dark. And it's okay to be, you know, everything was under, we actually exposed a little bit low because it's supposed to be dark and scary. And this is shooting a dark and scary scene on like the one Seattle night where it wasn't, I mean, Halloween, it always rains in Seattle. You notice that, Joe?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, that's our Halloween, is wet, cold, miserable, and you wear costumes. You notice my son's bat costume is like this. Let's go back to that. When he puts his arms up, it actually it does like the whole bat wingspan thing, but it's actually a warm costume. You need that for, even with the arms. See, I'm doing the arm thing, but you need that in Seattle. You need a warm costume because otherwise you're gonna freeze. Okay, moving on here. Now, not only was I Dracula in this, I was also filming this because Joe, my PA, was not available. He had family commitments. That's the problem when you do things on tight schedules, is you don't always have all your crew available, as it is. We didn't also have budget for makeup artists, I'd like to point out.
Luckily, this vampire parked a 2017...
Okay, this is actually 24 hours earlier now. We filmed all of the car park shots the night before, so it wouldn't... Oh, wait. Was that the night before or the night after? No, it was the night before. Dude, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I'm tired.
Question.
Yeah.
With the music audio like underlays, it sounds like a lady's going like, fuck. Or like, you know.
No, they're just going, oh, yeah. No, it's just, we got those tracks off of Premium Beat. Honestly, I listened to like 3 tracks. I'm like, that one, and I was done. And I thought it was kind of cool. And kind of that campy, kind of Addams Family kind of feel.
Yeah.
I really wanted to amp up. You know, again, if you're going to go scary, go scary. But if you're not going to go scary, have some fun with it. So this portion right here, as I was saying, let me play a little bit. What are you doing there, Joe?
I'm on it.
Okay.
Toyota 86, just a block away.
Now, you don't always literally park a block away, but in this case, I actually did. So my other neighbors up the street the night before Halloween, the night before we shot this, which was a week ago, were wondering, why is this guy park his car there? Why does he keep getting in and out of the car like 50 times? And why does he have a cape? What is this guy doing? What is Ryan up to? Well, I think that you would think that my neighbors would be kind of used to it by now, but I guess I just don't do it enough in my neighborhood. The leaves were fantastic, though. I didn't actually do any. Those are the actual leaves in that neighborhood. We have these huge trees, and they just dump. So I like to thank the props department, Mother Nature, for providing those. That was really nice. Now, this whole scene here. Oops, I got multi-selector there. This whole Toyota 86. Oh.
I don't know, but he has a nice car.
My daughter actually really likes this car. Both my kids travel in every single press car that I'm in, and they have some strong opinions about what cars they actually like and don't. They do like the Toyota 86, even though they're both cramped. They're getting harder to fit in the back seat. So the setup that we're using here for lighting, like I said, this was all shot the night before we did the vampire stand-up bit. This is all illuminated with I only used I have a 3-light kit that I use for these kind of things, but I only use 2 of the panels on this particular shoot. There was not much overhead light. Our neighborhood has kind of orangey kind of lights, so that they're not great. So I actually specifically picked a spot that wouldn't have a lot of light. And this is all shot at ISO 4000. That is how cool this camera is. I mean, the noise is almost, there's really not much there. And I shot it in a Cine 3 Pro Color. And I think it came out pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on with this. Oh, and I locked down the white balance to 5500K, so it matches the panels, of course. God, I need to not reach over here. Okay.
With a 200.
I knew I wanted to do this shot. Because to have Dracula walk over and open the hood would have been ridiculous. Why would he open the hood? But I wanted to show what the engine is. This is a really simple. I probably could have framed this better, honestly. But the concept's not bad. You basically just shoot the same thing twice. You shoot the hood, you open it up, and you shoot the engine, and then you basically just stack layers and have an alpha crop. You basically crop in the second image and then use a feather around it. It's kind of basically creating an alpha. I could have done it with an alpha channel as well too, but that was the simple, quick and dirty version, and it worked fine. But that is the actual engine's placement in that actual hood. I probably would have preferred to get a little bit more view of the car, but when you are constrained for time, you don't have all the time in the world to set up all the alternative shots. So, but pretty happy with that one.
5-horsepower boxer engine and a 6-speed manual transmission.
My wife keeps pointing out that I'm not wearing sleeves on the first night that I filmed this whenever she watched it, because I have sleeves as Dracula, but all my in-car stuff doesn't have sleeves. So I've tried to artfully crop out the arms to not show too. A couple of the shots, like in the original cut, you could see my full sleeve, and I'm just like, how did I miss that? It's always good to show a video to somebody else just to make sure that they, the stuff that you're not expecting.
Empire hoped it would be enough to get him home with haste to escape.
Okay, now this is the next morning. So that previous shot of the car pulling out was actually the first thing that I shot on the first night of production. Then the next day, the next morning, we did, so this is the morning that we did the Dracula shots. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning so that we would have about an hour of darkness, and then so these are being shot in actual sequence, in the fact that the car stuff was at night, the morning stuff is the next morning, which matches our story. Luckily, I knew a location that would likely have fog. It's kind of there's some rivers around there, and we totally lucked out, which when you're filming outdoors, luck has a lot to do with it, with the kind of weather you have. Although if you have bad weather, you can always, change things to kind of match that. But anyway, this weather was fantastic. So here's the fog driving shot. That was shot, I think, again with the same 50mm 1.4, guessing where the focus was going to be, because when your car's not there, it's pitch black, and then you have headlights and it's bright. You don't want the whole thing to be completely blown out. A little blowout's okay on a light, but yeah, just making sure those fence posts were actually kind of in focus was a little hard because it was pitch black. We were an hour away from the city, so there was no way to know where the focus point was necessarily. Anyway, moving on. These are the shots I love. So I probably could have color corrected that one a little better. That's the problem with rewatching these, is oh, I could have. Anyhow, this is an Osmo Pro attached with Osmo's suction cup bracket, which I'm actually not keen about because they constantly break. I've been through 3 of them. Their little magic arm gets loose super easy. So this is an Osmo Pro attached to a Subaru Forester with a bunch of gaff tape to make sure that the broken arm doesn't wiggle too much. It's just typical production stuff. Gaff tape saves a life, saves a production. This is probably around 6:30 a.m. that we did this shot, and we did a bunch of back and forths with it where we have a variety. And we did it during the time where the sun was just starting to come up in the distance. It wasn't going to break the hill yet, but we were going to get some varieties of light so that we would have everything from this darker scene to some lighter scenes. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, and Osmo Pro. Osmo Pro has some really weird things. The nice thing about the Osmo Pro, which is the expensive one that uses the Micro Four Thirds, isn't actually the fact that it's Micro Four Thirds where you can buy nice lenses for it, because it's multi-lens as opposed to the cheap Osmo, which just you get what you get. But the nice thing about it is you can manually focus it, and the manual focus actually locks, and it stays where it is. So this is all manually focused, all these shots here. We basically, I picked an aperture where I have a little bit of a window, and we're shooting in 4K, so we can get a little bit, kind of scoogee it a little bit. And, but there is something weird about the Osmo Pro that I've noticed. If I locked in the white balance, it doesn't actually stay. You get weird purple highlights in spots when you use their white balance. They can't build a proper white balance for whatever it is. So really with the Osmo Pro, even though I like everything's manual on it, I still use auto white balance because it's the only option for fairly accurate color, which is frustrating because you always have to basically constantly I'm looking at this one going, I probably could have colored that a little bit better, because you have to touch every single frame with the Osmo Pro, which is, again, frustrating, but it's better than being this weird purple that you get if you manually lock it. Moving on. Top-down shot. Okay. That is our first, I think, Mavic Pro shot. This shot was about an hour and a half later than the shot that preceded it. The Mavic Pro, if you do not own one and you're a video producer, director, whatever, just buy one. Honestly, as far as drones go, I own a Mavic Pro and I have a Phantom 4 Pro, which is the new one with the bigger sensor. I use the Mavic Pro more than anything because you can just throw it in a bag. You have it with you. I knew I was going to do drone shots this day, but all the gear that I brought out had to fit into that 86. I could have fit a Phantom 4 probably, but I probably would have also been driving with one of the cameras or tripods or mounts on my lap. Don't want to do that. So Mavic Pro all the way. That is not actually as foggy out at that point, but there was moisture on the lens from the earlier shots, and I had kept it up in the air a little too long, so it actually got a lot of condensation on the lens, which is fine because I knew these shots were going to be presented as being foggy. So basically this shot, I underexposed it significantly, and I left the condensation so it would keep that foggy look, and it is accelerated by double because we weren't actually driving that fast in that particular shot. But you can't say somebody's moving with haste when they're kind of like do 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 do. So moving along. That's the 85 millimeter GM lens, again with the A7S II. I shot all of this with the A7S II. If it's not a rig shot or a flying shot, it's all A7S II. I basically just made that executive decision early on. You will note that the auto lights have shut off. We accidentally had the lights on auto, so they weren't on for this particular shot, but I really like the shot. So, and also it does show what the daytime running lights are like because it is way brighter. This is like 9 o'clock. I've just underexposed it in post to make it look like it's night still. Slow motion. That's 4K slow. No, I'm sorry. That's I forgot I was shooting the A7S II. That's 120 frames per second HD slow motion with just some minor color tweaks and darkening it again to make it seem like it's dark. It's later in the morning or early in the morning. Love this shot. Mavic, totally great. You'll also note that when we went from where the first half of the video was kind of campy, the second half of the video isn't as much campy. We're still going to get back to campy in a little bit, but I wanted the car to look amazing, and that's always my goal with these type of things. The acting can be campy, the stand-ups can be campy, but the cars need to look amazing and epic because cars are. So you notice the tone has changed with the music. But then also the car's shots are far more dramatic. They're not shot in a campy way at all. This is kind of like the eye candy portion. And yeah, this road does end. Joe, there we go. See, that's the first thing my kids asked me. They're like, was that really a dead end road? It's like, yeah, it really was. Which just worked great. I love the trees in the background. I specifically knew this was going to be near this. I knew what I was shooting, so I knew what I was shooting for to script. Sometimes we just go out and just shoot what we can find. But this particular shot, I knew I wanted something that looked a little bit that would work in a transition to this next part.
As he sped through
Love this shot.
the night, his chances to escape the sun were looking good. When finally he spotted the castle, which meant at last
That actually is the same road we were on earlier, but it had flooded recently, and so there was a lot of mud on one portion. So we kind of used that as the access road to the castle. Again, we knew what we were shooting. We had a script, so we knew what kind of shots we needed. We overshot because we also used the same footage for some standard reviews that we're shooting with it as well. Kind of kill two birds with one stone. But those ones won't be, dark and dim and Halloween-y themed. And then I've added a little bit of a snow to kind of give it a little bit. Actually, it's a dust effect, and that's just an additive layer that I've added on top of. So this is a very simple edit. Basically, it's all cuts and dissolves. But on this one, we basically have a layer of video with some color correction on it. We're basically dimming it a lot. And then on top of that, I added the dust effects, which then I have the alpha channel. I'm using it additive, sorry. And then I've also brought it down to 50%, so it wasn't quite so bright. And that kind of like a snowy kind of feel, kind of like a magical snowy feel, which then ties us into this shot.
he was safe in his hood.
This is a stock shot that we took. There was an animated stock shot that we bought off of a service because I wanted it to kind of look like a fantastical castle, and we didn't have time or budget to do our own. Again, 24-hour turnaround. This is what we get. The actual animation had some stuff that we had to fix, but it got us to where we needed to be. And then we animated. Again, it's campy, so we're not going for 100%. We're not like doing like a 3D model of whatever. But we have a photograph that I took of the side of the car specifically for this, with the car when it's dirty near the end of the shoot. And that is what we've cropped out, and we built an alpha channel for, and we've animated it very small going across the bridge. I'd like to give props to Jason Vo, who we had last night, and we built this in AE. We didn't have time to do it in Fusion because we don't have a lot of Fusion experience here. We're still working on that. But for production stuff, we did this in AE. A couple other changes to this. The original shot is brighter. We also added some kind of just trying to give it a little bit more of and change the color a little bit to kind of give it more of a morning, kind of a dim, dark, bleak morning feel. And then more of that dust, again, to kind of tie it into that previous shot, give it a more fantastical feel. Oh, we also added a lot of the smoke to it because it wasn't looking creepy enough.
From the
This is our parking garage. Has our parking garage ever looked better, Joe?
Oh, it looks so good.
Yeah. So I actually, this was shot on the first night after I shot all of the neighborhood stuff. I then came to the office, to the parking garage, and shot these because, again, need a close. This is our close. Now, we actually did have, back to me, we did have an idea for ending with the vampire with a glass of wine in front of a fire and looking like, hey, I made it. I'm going to drink some blood. But we thought that was too campy of a note to end on, like way too campy, because we went from campy to the car to kind of this campy CG scene, but it's still, the CG scene still kind of tied into the epicness of the driving scenes. So to go full 360 back to totally campy vampire, acting poorly, bad actor, with a glass of wine and feet up in front of a fire with bunny slippers. I actually did have a location already set for that, but we ended up not shooting it just because I thought this would work better for the piece.
donation to yours.
That is actually the cape doing the transition. That's actually just a cut. And I, so can we backtrack that? J. Is it J? Oh, does it actually work in YouTube? Yeah. Does it use the? Yeah, JKL. Oh. JKL, I didn't know it worked in YouTube. Okay, so we actually do a cut, and I did like 20, like a matador things with the cape over the camera. I'm sure if somebody saw me, they thought I was insane because I'm like, whoa, ha, whoa, ha, what? And, you know, yeah, I got to do that again. You know, I was doing that kind of stuff. And out of all of them, there was only one I liked when I actually looked at it in the edit bay, and that was this one.
Have a happy and safe.
Gotta say, that car looks amazing in that shot. It's not quite the right color, but it looks amazing. We have these weird, this is one reason why we don't use the garage all that often for our shoots, is it has these weird lights that are kind of orangey and tungsten things. I don't think they're actually tungsten. They're not sodium though. Anyway, they cast a weird color, and we can't seem to match it very well, so we're still working on that. Anyhow, and we end with a big logo finish. And I hit the button wrong again. Did I mention I'm tired? It was a long night. And yes, everybody in the office thought I was insane because I didn't warn them and I was doing these takes. And then all of a sudden I started like blurting out the wah-ha-ha-has. And they're just like, oh God, another day. Just another day with that guy. Cut back to Joe. Joe's like, yeah, that's pretty much. So that has been my breakdown of a video that we produced for a client. Pretty happy with the way that it turned out. Halloween is a great, fun holiday, and I think it's kind of a fun, short video, just as long as it needs to be. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But, you know, that's the whole thing of this business, is that your next video is going to be better than your last one. If it's not, then you quit and you go home. And not everything has to be like epic serious and extreme. No, it doesn't have to be that way. There's all types of different videos. And I think that one kind of, I thought it was pretty good. Anywho, I hope this has been helpful for anybody in the, that does videos to see these breakdowns. If you want to see more of these, we produce a ton of stuff here. I'd be happy to do more of these, maybe even give more technical in some of them. But, you let me know. I won't know if you don't comment below. Actually, let me see. We do have a few viewers. Do any of the viewers have any questions for me? I have the live chat window open right here, and I don't know if anybody's going to say anything. And I don't want to hang out here too long because I got stuff to do. And we'll assume that's nothing then for this time. One of these days, we will have live on-air questions, and I will be happy to answer them. I am at your disposal when I do these shows. If you want to chat it up, I'll chat it up with you. So hopefully, again, this has been helpful. Please subscribe to our channel. Visit, it's on YouTube. That's where you're watching it because this is where we put it, unless we've also reposted it to our Facebook, which we occasionally do. But please subscribe to our channel. Give it a thumbs up. Tell us what you want. I'm a active working producer and director available at your disposal. If you're in the business or new to the business or want to get into the business, if you want to talk business, if you want to talk cameras, if you want to talk coffee. Why do I have 3 coffee cups? If you want to talk coffee, because I'm ready here. Yeah, it's one of those days. Anyway, that's it. End of the show. I got some trick-or-treating to do and some videos to shoot and a Type R video to edit. And remember, no more videos probably for the rest of this week, most likely, unless I do an impromptu one, because I'm heading to the SEMA show in Las Vegas tomorrow. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and that's a cut.